Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Decrypted. We're going to be breaking down some fun topics today. Has the AI bubble burst? Is it gonna burst? Are we in a bubble? I don't know. I was in a car ride, and my dad was like, "Hey, AI bubble might burst soon," and I was like, "Dude, you're 70. Why are you talking to me about AI?" Anyway. On top of that, we're going to be talking about some agent use cases, obviously scale right now, focusing a lot on agentic AI, bringing 1 billion agents on chain, gas free. And to round everything off, what we're going to be talking about, you know it, Bitcoin volatility. Damn, it's been a wild couple of weeks. But before we jump into all of that, let me introduce to you guys the people you already know, probably a lot more than you actually know me. And this week, we're going to start off with Jack. Jack, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm doing great. I mean, I got to say, it's been a crazy week, like the last week before the holidays. I feel like going around the clock, but working hard, having fun. Again, my favorite time of the week talking to you guys. Having my morning coffee. It's night for you guys, but hey, we're making it happen. Pumped to be here.
We are indeed. Yeah, dude, it's like nighttime now. Starts at like 2 p.m. It's just pitch black. Stan, what about you? How you been?
Yeah, actually, this week is the best, probably. You know, like crypto people don't usually announce vacations because I think they're scared like someone will kidnap them or like cut off their finger, like all of their stuff. You know, like the crypto things, like using like analysis on you to extract the crypto keys. So crypto people, if you notice, they never tell you about their vacations, but they'll tell about vacations after they're back. So I can now officially disclose I went for 4 days to the great country of Slovenia. And I have a great friend of mine who's a physicist, and we spent 4 days like talking about physics and AI actually. And also I was actually had some free time, so I kind of updated my knowledge of AI. We used to do lots of AI at my previous startup, Galactic Exchange. Now I'm kind of thinking how we can inject more AI, yet more AI into a scale. And so I think that I actually spent the time pretty useful way because I was on vacation, but also I was like thinking a little bit like how we can add more AI, what do we need to do about AI, like updating. There's actually a great course on multimodal AI on YouTube. You guys can search MIT. Yeah, the name of the course is you can do almost anything using AI. So that's kind of pretty cool course. And they're talking about the modern state of AI, something really practical, like what the problems are, pretty interesting things. I highly recommend. Just search MIT and search, you can do almost anything with AI.
So you can do almost any, all right.
Something like that. Yeah, it'll pop up. Just search MIT AI and you'll see and it's pretty nice, like young guy and doing really like practical thing, like telling about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. How to AI almost anything.
Yeah. That's my interpretation. Like I'm approximate. I'm a physicist, so I do everything approximately. So.
By the way, you know what's funny? AI, I feel like is kind of taking over our lives. Like when I was at this meeting with these people last night, and I used like prompt and like normal talk. Like, oh, I prompted that person too. And I was like, did I just say prompted that? Like, I'm talking to humans. It's permeating our lives.
AI is it's a great tool, right? And I think I use it so often, whether it's for just having that that person you want to bounce ideas off of, alongside that, even just making things, right? We're in an age now where we're not limited to time, resources, and money. we're limited to the ideas that we can put forward, which I think is incredible, right? We're almost going into this the old age, we used to be like the age of information, and it's almost like now we're in this age of innovation, right? Where we have all of the information and we can do so much with it. So let's just start innovating. But is some innovations just vaporware and things that need to go away? Segue back into, is AI a bubble? What do we think, people? Because I'm saying, my honest opinion, 99.9% of it is just vaporware, complete repackaging of the exact same thing. Ooh.
Let me talk, or let me give some framing here, okay? and then then let's jump in, okay? Because Stan's always got hot takes on this, and I actually am really. It's one of the reasons why I like this show, because I'm like, what's Stan gonna say? What is he thinking? So the frame here is, I was listening. I was in my car listening to Sirius Radio, and Jim Cramer came on, and he's like, "We're the AI bubble." And usually, what he says, you just do the opposite, okay? And I was like, oh, I got to listen to what he's saying, because I need to take an opposite perspective of what he's saying. But he was saying, I'll tell you what, the AI bubble has already burst. And he has this whole perspective that this, this thing's burst, and it wasn't very clear, but it got me thinking, everyone's worried the AI bubble is going to burst, and that impacts Bitcoin, that impacts altcoins, that impacts, small mid-cap stocks. Everything's kind of right now, the dog is AI and the tail is everything else. Let's just be honest, okay? But here's some framing on why we are potentially at a bubble or not. And this is where it's such a it's binary. So one, you could look and you could say Nvidia right now has a $4.25 trillion market cap. Okay, that's pretty damn big. Right? Now, if you go look back in 2021. They were about 1/8 of that, okay, at their peak. I was going to buy Nvidia, and I was like, no way in hell am I buying this at 500 billion back in 2021. I was like, this thing's not going to go anywhere. But then you go and you look at here's another metric. So Google CEO just recently said he's like that 1.25% of all global energy is consumed by AI right now, okay? And that's not waste. That's a lot of it's training, but a lot of it's just people using it. And I got to say, everybody I know uses it. Here's the thing. We're either at this crest and we don't cross the chasm, and what company has a $4.25 trillion market cap, and we go, or we're just at the start and AI actually does 10x its improvement. It lives in robots. Our cars drive themselves. We have 50 times more workers at each of our companies doing things because they're actually more resilient. Then if that's the case, we're only 1/10 or 1/100th into this AI bubble. It doesn't mean there's not going to be an interim short bubble, Bob, which is maybe likely. But I think the big question is where are we going to be in 2 years? And if we're really only cresting it, we could still see this Nvidia growth. I mean, it might still be early for things like Nvidia. But Stan, what do you think?
Yeah, I can actually, guys, I've been literally thinking about AI about 4 days. So I can give you some thoughts, but the thoughts are very specific to a scale, because I started this vacation basically thinking that, okay, we have Expo 02, which is really great. I think that we're doing this for AI. And I was thinking how we can extend actually, what else can we do which can help a scale? I was just brainstorming, what other AI things that make sense. One thing which I realized, which is going to be very contrarian, is that all of the existing blockchain and AI companies are terrible businesses. I'll explain why. Because when you have this ChatGPT business and you have this huge competition, you have 5 huge companies, $1 trillion companies, buying engineers from each other for hundreds of millions of dollars, not wasting, but spending trillions of dollars on energy and stuff. This business is now terrible business. That's what the bubble is, because you have this huge amounts of money, not clearly understood how you can make this money back, and you have huge competitions, terrible business. It's capital intense, and it's huge competition. So you have these 5 giants, and in addition to that, you have these blockchain companies trying to compete with the giants having like 1,000th of their budget. So that's terrible. I think this is not going to be a good blockchain AI business. So you need to come up with something where a small startup can make a difference. And so it's actually very hard because big companies, they have huge amount of money and stuff. But there is one place, what we're already doing with actually machine pay, which can be extended, is being on side of the user. Because if you have ChatGPT and you have, Gemini and you have Facebook, you have Grok, all of these guys are competing against each other, but they're all on the on the company side, on the server side. They're doing LLMs, but there is software that needs to run inside of a customer. So if I'm like a small business or I'm a huge business, let's say I have all of this, huge AI companies, ChatGPT, how do I manage all of this complexity? How do I choose which one to use for a particular topic? How do I manage my prompts? And then how I evaluate? That's another huge problem. Like, let's say I'm Bank of America, and I can choose between Gemini and ChatGPT, and it's like a multi-million-dollar, contract. But I need to choose based on the quality for my particular purpose, for the particular task that I have at Bank of America. I need to choose whether ChatGPT is better, or maybe Gemini is better. So I have this huge problem of evaluating what's going on, how my people are using ChatGPT, how my people are using Gemini, is it actually financially meaningful? So the software, and this is actually great for blockchain, because a blockchain can be also independent source of truth. You can put things on blockchain, you cannot change them. So what I realized, I don't want to go in too much detail, so our competitors don't actually copy us, but I think we are seeing now that machine pay, machine pay can be used to buy AI and sell AI, right? It can run inside enterprise and also run on our encrypted chain, a scale chain, to do all this buying and selling. But there are some other AI features which can be very naturally added to just buying and selling, like for instance, prompts, right? Where blockchain is very natural. So you could think, if we want to extend from just payments to wider AI, we could say that a scale is going to provide this blockchain plus software for enterprises that manages all of the AI needs, like prompts, evaluating, paying. And that actually, I realized that's a really great business because it's not capital intense, right? You don't need your own LLM. You're becoming more like an arbiter, deciding which LLM to use. You pay, anywhere there's money, you can make money. So I realized that there is actually the AI bubble is in the capital intense AI. This is definitely bubble, because if you're spending $1 trillion, how can you be sure you'll make this $1 trillion back? And so and also how you're going to make sure you'll have continuous funding to keep on your business running. Because if your business is capital intense, you need to constantly churn capital to actually, keep on running the business. So this is definitely going to burst, I think. And someone is going to get hurt. Maybe Grok is going to get hurt. Facebook, too many of them. I think one of them is going to be burned, I don't know which one. Maybe Google stock is going to drop, maybe ChatGPT stock is going to drop. But some of them will need to leave the game because there are too many. There's a bubble, but we need, if you find the clever ways, clever markets, that are just growing and not capital intense, I think there's still lots of space for startups, but you need to really think about this.
I think, I like it because it's like, a lot of people are focusing on the same aspect, right? Which is this chatbot kind of try and do it all.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that, and there are little products out there that are specifically focused on an area or a niche, right? Gemini kind of started going with it, Google with nano banana and things like that. But we don't have, it's almost like a jack of all trades type thing versus a specialized LLM or you know, model, which I guess, you know, you can't charge as much for, right? But you know, one of the greatest and probably the greatest AI application I've ever used is Opus.clips. That's it, right? And all it does is you give it a long form video, it cuts it up into little clips, and it adds captions, and that's with AI. And that is probably the most used AI software that I've used for years. It's been around for so long for this specific area. Right, you wouldn't be able to give it to you wouldn't be able to give a 2-hour-long video to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, cut this up into 20 different clips and add captions." Doesn't work, won't do it. So we have all of these, you know, Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, Copilot, like all of these, you know, chat box LLMs, which are realistically kind of just search engines. Like their major use case right now is just being a search engine. And we haven't seen specialized applications come out. And I think until we see that, we are in this bubble.
Yes, I feel like my synthesis on this is we are at the beginning of a huge movement, but are we over our skis a little bit? I think prices, speculation, hype is ahead of real use. That being said, we're still using 1.25% of the world's energy to run these things. Like there's a lot of use for these things. Are they making a lot of money? No, not yet. But I think there's going to be I don't think we're at a 1999 getting ready for the bubble to pop and this, because there's all just vaporware. There's real stuff happening there. I use it all the time. Like a year ago, I tried to build an application and I couldn't do it. I built one in 2 hours the other day, all by myself, that worked. It had all these API plugins, it connected to other services, and I was like, this is unbelievable. And so I see these advances, and I also think the different applications. So you use AI all the time too when you get customer support. You don't even know it, but you're getting AI support, right? It's coming across. We're interfacing with a lot, but we're not really seeing it. But I do think there's this chasm we have to cross, and I agree with you, Stan, that there's going to be one or two big players that gets burned, because there's going to be a power law. There's going to be an accumulation, because it's going to be such a loss leader game. You're going to have to invest so much money into being a winner. But then I think the play for startups are, one, the ability to create customized agents to do things for you. Two, being able to take AI and not compete with OpenAI or Google or X, but to be able to take that and say, hey, I'm going to solve this specific business use case, and I'm the customer of, I'll pay you, OpenAI, but I'm going to charge all these people, and I'm going to give them a differentiated service because of the UX, the way I enable them, the way I customize the AI. So and also robots. Guess what? All of us are going to have a robot in our home at some point in time. Just like you have a car, we probably won't have a car pretty soon. If you live in a city, you'll just take self-driving cars, or you'll have one and you won't even drive it. You'll just put it to work and it'll drive people and make you money. But you're going to have a robot in your home, but there's going to be a little chasm between where prices are going to plummet. But I think the value to be captured is still 1/10 to 1/100th.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, guys, I can tell you this mathematical thing about I used to trade biotech, so I say I can talk about stocks. I mean, I cannot talk about crypto, but in a situation like this, the way to make money? Let's say you have 5 players. You have Google, you have X.AI, you have Facebook, you have Microsoft, you have ChatGPT, whatever, OpenAI. So you have 5 stocks, and you basically what you do, you decide, okay, Google is gonna win, and let's say whatever XAI is gonna lose. So what you do, you actually buy the stock that wins, and you short exactly the same amount. It's called pair trading. You short exactly the same amount of stock that you think you will go down. And then when you have this pair, you don't really care about the market. You only care about how they move against each other, because you're market neutral. You buy $1,000 of Google and you short $1,000 of XAI. So you're market neutral. If Google and XAI go in sync, your change is 0. But once Google is starting, let's say, starts going up versus XAI, then when you can make money. And I think that's actually, I mean, if someone is really, definitely if someone wants to make money from this bubble bursting, the pair trading of stocks. If you really believe that one of them wins and there's like a loser, I mean, it makes sense to do it. It's not an advice, but that's actually how people usually make money when they understand that there will be something like that. They're trying to also like minimize their loss. Not an advice.
One other thing to consider here, just to draw this back to like what we work on every day, is I think when stable coins and agentic payments come into play, it will open the field up for AI massively. Because right now, AI is very restricted in how it enables commerce to happen across different, products, websites, etc. And crypto enables this seamless programmable transfer of value. And so the AI, that's where I think people aren't really getting the depth and like the breadth of what's happening here for crypto. We're drafting off of AI. We're not competing with AI. And that's like, hey, are meme coins competing with AI? Yes. Are NFTs competing with AI? Yes. Are kind of non-related, just kind of like hype tokens? Yes, they're competing with AI narratives, but AI projects are drafting. If you're building stuff for the AI world, you are like you're in the peloton. I don't know what kind of, you're people of all these different countries. I have to use a lot of sports analogies, but like you're a cyclist, you're behind, the Tour de France winner and his whole crew, and you are gunning. Like you're in a wind tunnel. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. Which probably, Falcor, is a good segue into like agent use cases, which a little reminder, I want to tell everybody at scale, hey, do we support gaming still? Heck yeah. We have so many games that work with us. We love them. Are they going to use agents? Yes. Games are going to be one of the biggest users of agents. That being said, where is like the lion's share of our growth focus going? It is entirely into this agent market because one, Scale has one of the strongest product market fit for that. If you look at like the performance and the privacy, we are going after that market, and also we're getting such good feedback from people like, whoa, you can do this, you can do that. So we're targeting there. So we thought it'd be fun. Hey, let's talk about some use cases for agents. Everyone's hearing about X402 on the timeline. You're hearing about Google's AP2. You're hearing about agent payments. What the heck is this all about? Right? That's the next.
Well, yeah, I mean, it opens up so many different opportunities, right? You can look at services. Will probably be one of the biggest ones, right? From a use case perspective. We have one of the ones that I'm most interested about is and it actually kind of is almost it's a flywheel, which is having the ability to sell almost your own prompts, right? Where, let's say you have an idea for something that you want to create, you go tell your terminal that holds your AI agents, that then goes out and finds a prompt or a cat did something, a prompt or a piece of software that can do it to its best ability. Because right now with AI, a lot of people waste so much time with trying to find out which model is the best one, right? If you want research, are you going to Grok? Are you going to Perplexity? Where are you going? Or if you're doing coding, each model, while they are all trying to be this encompassing large thing, all are better at something else. And I think that's going to be a big one is that ability. And then finally, just small payments. I think as well, is we have the opportunity to API costs are so high, right? And cooling that. If you want historical data on Bitcoin, right? You want to go get it from CoinMarketCap. You don't want to go and spend $1,700, $1,800 on an API. Right, you want to go and spend $20 20 cents on that little bit of information you need. So I think that is going to be the biggest one, right? Is micro subscriptions. It's time to remove subscriptions. Let's just pay for what you need. What about you, Stan? What do you think?
Actually, I can relate you guys to this course at MIT because actually it explains this complexity very well. Otherwise, people don't understand, right? It's like AC this, MCP that, X402. It's just very complex. What's really something which is really important to understand is multimodal AI. The course is about multimodal AI, and I'll explain what multimodal AI is. If you're a big company, big corporation, and you're using AI. Let's say you're Nike, and you are deciding on design and marketing for the new Nike shoes. You want to analyze the situation. You have Twitter, you have customer purchase data, you have customers writing reviews about Nike, you have video testimonials. So multimodal AI means that you actually have data in different formats, in different languages, in different cultures, in whatever countries. So for Nike, something as simple as Nike shoe, you have pricing data, you have revenue data, you have customer testimonial videos, you have customers saying things on Twitter, you have likes, you have social networks. So you have this totally disparate data. But you need to somehow, the AI needs to read all of this very different data and then help you to design a good shoe and the next generation shoe, and also decide on the next generation marketing campaign for this shoe, right? So for the AI for large corporations is not a single source of data. It's not like ChatGPT, you are talking to it. You have all kinds of different sources of data, all kinds of different models, different LLMs. So you basically have this complexity where you have all of the data sources, you have all of the LLM providers. You need to do this like massaging, like back and forth. You're pushing data, or getting answers, pushing results into other thing. And it's needed for you to evaluate the entire data. That's how large enterprise differs from a consumer who just types a couple of words versus large enterprise having this huge amounts of data. So this is the complexity that when they say MCP, A2T, whatever, right? A2A, these are like this trying to build protocols that helps this kind of complex thing that's going to happen when many models are going to get used. Results of one are going to get pushed into another. Then you need to know which one is good, which one is bad. It creates all kinds of complexity. And so if you just drop all of these protocols, all of this soup of whatever, what the problem that needs to be solved is this multimodal AI, where you have the data is complex, there are many models, but it's needed. And you need to glue these things together. And then that's actually after going through this course, I got this a little bit of a moment of epiphany where I realized that what we started with machine pay as just a way to buy and sell, AI services, we could just extend it into something way bigger if we also add management of different models and being able to evaluate how different models behave and send from one to another. And this could be really good for blockchain and for scale to be the center of this multimodal AI. So I think that's what I'm going to advocate. Once we are done with the first MVP implementation of scale, encrypted chain, and X402, all of this stuff, I'm going to advocate that once we have the MVP, the next thing for us will be to trying to add more of this AI features really quick and see which of them click. Ideally, you would see SKL as being this multimodal AI center of the enterprise. It's kind of the thing that buys AI provisions for you, but also understands what's going on, all this complexity, and uses blockchain just as a mediator for all of this stuff. So I think that's actually this multimodal idea is way simpler way to understand this A2A, MCP, whatever, than just saying, okay, all of these protocols, what is this, why they need it. I mean, I highly recommend you guys to actually go through this course.
Yeah. I'm gonna check it out. Okay, those are great takes. I'm gonna give another that's the fun thing about this topic is there's so many things you can talk about. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give this example of AI paying for things on your behalf, but I didn't really get it till I built this e-commerce app. And some people we have people like, what are you doing building an e-commerce app with AI? You should be running the Scale Labs team. Like, no, I'm doing that on my free time so I can be better at my job. Okay. Just so people
no free time, Jack. No free time.
Yeah. But this, all of a sudden I really got X402. And here's the reason why. I was building this thing and it was like, oh, then you need this service. So I had to go to a website, sign up for this thing, create a whole new credentials, give payment method. Then I had to go to another. I had to sign up for like 4 different services that I had to just pay these like monthly subscriptions. And then I had to go get my API key, copy and paste it, bring it over to the AI. Now imagine while I'm prompting, if it just says, hey, you need this connection and you need this connection, you need this connection. Should we go set up an account and buy it on your behalf? Thank you. Imagine if your agent could go through all those steps and then instead of paying for a month or a year at a time, it's just paying for what you use. Ding, 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 ding. And I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, now I see it. So if I look at 5 years from now, why like Andreessen thinks there's going to be a $30 trillion market, it's because we're living in a world where agents are your authentication and the buyer when you build and utilize things. Okay. And that's building something, but there's also this element of utilizing products and services as a consumer, not just a builder. That is a huge market. So when I did that, I recognized, wow, like the way, and it's a big shift because it requires these API service providers to change their business model, right? But why are they going to do it? Because guess what? They want to service agents. Now, if they want to service me, I'm not going to pay per use because I'm a human and that's not very efficient. But my agent, every time it dings it, they're going to do that. And they're going to do it because I'll probably spend more than I would have otherwise.
100%.
So I agree with all your guys' takes. And that's my use case I'm excited about is like the transformation of software and more automated integrations. The API world helped software integrate with software so much more. But now we're going to help software pay for software more and be built faster and be utilized more.
Okay, I have a question. So a lot of products and things out there, right, will give you a free trial to sign up, right? You put in your email, you put in your PayPal or your credit card or something like that. You get 7 days, 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, something like that. Now, personally, I hate doing that because A, don't want to give my email away, and B, I always forget to cancel the free subscription. Mm-hmm. Would you be more open to doing that type of X402 payment than getting it for free? So let's say hypothetically, you would do, it's like $1 that free trial would represent $1 worth of X402 payments. Would you rather do the X402 payments versus giving them your email, signing up for the free trial, and hoping you cancel it?
Any day of the week, I would do that.
Yeah.
What about you, Stan?
Yeah, totally. And actually, but I can bring analogy, to what happened with Google. If you remember, guys, you don't probably remember, but when internet started, the first search engine was called Alta Vista, and the first search engine was just basically a search engine that you would type something and it would just show all of the websites, that had this word, whatever. But then what started happening is that people started producing these spam websites or like malicious things, and suddenly your search engines turned out to be just spam, basically like malicious thing. And so then Google, what was Google's contribution, they introduced ranking, something they called PageRank. Essentially, the problem appeared to be not just to search, not just to give you these links, but to order them, to rank them. And this is actually turned out to be the problem that made Google like zillionaire, because either you get up unnaturally or you pay to get up. So ranking turned out to be the money generator, right, for Google. But it's the same here. When we talk about like what you are saying, right, Ben, that you want to have a trial to see if it's good or not. If there are lots and lots of AI services, some of them will turn out to be total shit. And so, and definitely it's better to pay once compared to subscribing and then finding out they're really bad. So definitely, that's definitely true. But then you have this another thing. Someone needs to rate. And blockchain is a great way to rate services, right? How do you rank? If you, as we just discussed, if you're a professional, you need a very specific AI service. How do you search for it? And you have 5 competitors. Are you gonna try all of them? You need someone to rank them for you, very much like Google ranks links. And then you need to have some objective rating, and the blockchain is the best thing for rating, right? So the money maker, I think, will turn out to be not just having zillions of these services, but something that will be able to rank them, very much like Google ranks websites. There will be a need for independent, thing that gives a good enough, solution. And I think that's where we can play a huge role with SKL, because if we start with something really simple as just helping people pay in stable coins for AI, we can naturally add more features to become more like Google, which then tells people, okay, there are these 5 services. We kind of recommend this one. We don't recommend that one. We kind of rank them. And I think we can naturally find this great thing where, it actually buys automatically. Maybe it doesn't even tell you. It tries it and then later tells you if it's good or bad. And it also records on the blockchain if it's good or bad. So
here's a question for you. How do agents get ranked, and how do they get who's going to basically own or run these? Are these going to be kind of public goods? Are they going to be a company that's like, hey, use my agent to do these things? How is that world going to come together? And are they also going to be ranked?
SKL will do this exactly. There's no solution, but we will do it. It will be ranked by SKL, right? So because there's no one, I think we are actually, when we started with X402, we kind of jumped into something where there's very little competition because it's a new thing, and it literally, there's no one, to my knowledge, solving this problem. And I think blockchain is the best way to solve the problem, because how do you prove that your rating is neutral, right? Independent, you don't manipulate it. So I think that's really, that's something where we need to go with SKL, because to my knowledge, no one is solving it. People are doing all kinds of stuff in AI, they just basically training models on blockchain, which I don't think really makes sense. But this thing, I'm not aware of any service like that.
Yeah, I wonder, we're building this whole area. I think there's going to be some companies too that are just they build agents, and they're like, we build agents to do these things, and they don't do any LLM work. I think that's all done by the big 3, the big 4, 5, however many there are. And they're going to be fighting for the business of these people that are creating these use case specific agents, and are going to need to have systems that, with open, transparent blockchains, like you're saying, that can rank these agents, and even Scale Labs, we should start building agents, and
absolutely
and ranking them, providing infrastructure, but actually building them, because just inject them right into this ecosystem. I see a lot of missing parts, and that's definitely a missing part right now.
Absolutely. And I think I think the way to view this also, the different way, in smartphones you have Apple and you have Samsung, you have some companies in China, right? But you don't want to be a startup doing a smartphone. Is incredibly capital intense. Very much the space of LLMs is not for a startup. Is these guys, they will buy engineers from each other. They'll probably have pretty much the same thing. And it's not a first. The thing for a startup is to find a nice niche to be more go around these guys and do what they cannot do. And I think what they can't do is being neutral. So blockchain is very natural, to manage all of these big elephants. We'll create agents, right? Also a place for agents, because agents are not capital intense. Agents are like apps, for the iPhone. There's only one Apple, but there's zillions of companies creating apps, because apps are not capital intense.
And what's interesting is this whole concept that when you're right now, if you search for an app, your human brain is oh, let me go there, and you're at an app store and you're seeing things. But guess what? that whole process of discovery is going to be handled by AI for you.
Mhm.
You're going to be, oh, here's the things to use for this, like the way we work through software selection, I think is going to change dramatically. And what will be interesting is like who sits on the front of that queue, who determines who the winners are. It'll be a really, the rules are changing, which is always fun, I think.
Yeah, totally. And I think,
smaller participants too, to capture huge market share.
Absolutely. And I think the AI that makes the decision, it can be very simple, because the most important for this AI algorithm to be open source and public. So it doesn't have to be like super duper AI. The algorithm can be like super fast and simple. The one that chooses which of the giants to use. Because the problem is about neutrality. There has to be provable, if there are agents and the users are using these agents, there has to be a provable, reputation that's not tweakable. And blockchain is the best for it, right? Like if I'm an enterprise, let's say you're like a Bank of America and you're deciding to build this multi-modal like AI system, and you need to choose 10 different LLMs and kind of glue them together. How do you choose 10 LLMs out of like 1,000 or agents? So you need to have some quick way, good enough. That you need to have some agent that selects agents, but this agent that selects agent doesn't have to be like super duper like deep AI thing. It has to be neutral, right? Because essentially it has to be just good enough.
Yep.
So this one, I think, is really, that's where startup can really make a difference. And we can make a difference with the scale. If we start with payments, we kind of start controlling the space, and then we can extend to other things that people need.
Yeah. So Stan, I know we have to talk about the Bitcoin and FedShare, but before we do that, I have a question for you. So AI has improved so much in the last year, like I was talking about earlier. I can build a whole application. I can build a game. It also like it kind of undulates. It gets good, and then you're like, whoa, this sucks all of a sudden. Then it gets better. Where are we going to be in a year? How good do you? What's your theory on like this, exponential curve of, because once AI starts building itself, it builds itself faster. How much better are things going to get in a year? Not talking about agents, just talking about like just AI, doing things for us.
I'm going to answer this question, Jack. I think like just recently I read that there's a new version of Google Banana, right? And it's a huge improvement in image generation. And so about like 3 months ago, I tried to generate like a diagram. Basically, for machine pay, for a scale, right? Just a nice diagram. And I said, generate this diagram. And basically generates the diagram, but then like some of the words are garbled and it like looks like crap, the diagram, basically. Yeah. It's not good enough. And so yesterday, I read that just this new version of Banana generates perfect diagrams. So you should just basically, and then there's like some examples that is just mind-blowing. All of the words are clean, like it looks just super professional diagram with all of the connections and like niceties. And it generates like in 10 seconds. That's a huge thing for anyone who is doing like PowerPoint presentations, right? Like imagine that's the revolution. So the answer may be that something that you recently tried with AI and it produced crap, a year from now, it will produce a perfect result. That's probably almost for sure is going to happen. So, and that actually can be in some cases really big, like in this case, example of diagram. I think just this particular version of Banana is going to revolutionize PowerPoint slides because you can now do mind-blowing slides, mind-blowing diagrams, right? So you try something and it's kind of, it produces crap, and then enough people do it, and then people at OpenAI and Gemini, they see it because they see all of the responses and they see that the people say it's crap, right? So once enough people say it's crap, they actually put resources into it and then make it perfect. And so I think that's what's going to happen. So kind of from this, I realized that I was probably a little bit too pessimistic, because I tried this diagram and it didn't work, and the words were garbled, and I presumed that would be forever. And here we are, like a year from, like 3 months from when I tried, and it's perfect now. So that's probably the answer. Like what's going to happen is, like, people every generation, people will identify crap. And the next generation, if enough users say this is bad, this is not good enough quality, it's going to improve it. So we're going to go through the sequences of improvements. And ultimately, I think, like this for software and for marketing, and probably also I tried doing like a movie. You cannot really do a movie now, like full screen movie. Like you will probably be able to do like a movie.
Yeah. So are we looking at like a 10x improvement? Are we looking at a 3x improvement? Like what are we looking at here?
I think anything. I think like anything which feels boring will be done like in 3 years. Like what's boring? Like if you go to a movie theater and you watch a movie. And then you can, okay, I watched this kind of a movie already 100 times. There is this good guy and bad guy and crime and whatever. So probably 3 years from now, a movie like that will be from the beginning to the end, including actors, everything will be just AI. And so
here's another question. How, for both you guys, what improvement have we made in the last year? December, right? Holiday season. How much has AI improved in the last year? How many times?
100, 200. Genuinely. Like, if we're talking about media creation, yeah, I mean, you used to not be able to, you would say, hey, write write these words, and it wouldn't be able to do it. And now you can create full blown, digital assets or videos with the correct wording. Is incredible from where it was to where it is now. And from a coding point of view, like Google Dev AI is like 1,000 times better than like ChatGPT coding and things like that. Like back from a year ago, it genuinely it's astronomically more impressive, intuitive, and easy to use.
Stan, what's your last year? How much improvement?
I think for software, it's actually pretty well quantified, because Google, the last model, Google Gemini, actually they used to be like a silver medal in computer science competitions, world competitions, international competitions. Now they're gold medal in international computer science competitions. And so basically what this gold medal means, they're not actually better than human, but if you have a code, like source code, which is like 10 pages, then it can probably create this source code better than any human now. So basically, like if I'm programming machine pay, I take 10 pages, I put it into Gemini and it improves it, but it's not able to do as much complexity as humans. So if you have like we have in machine pay, maybe like 100,000 lines of code, a million lines of code, it cannot like find problems which are too distant, but you can pick. If your code is split in pieces, it can perfect every piece. So actually the change is also coding. Basically, you just need to define big pieces, and then each of them can be improved by Gemini. So that's actually basically at the level where, look, any piece of code which is like 10,000 lines, maybe like it can do better than a human. But it cannot, because when you do things really big, it's also about business and users and MVP, human psychology. So the higher level thing is not about coding, it's about many other complex things. And it's not able to do this, but it's able to. So I think to be truthful, if people all knew how to use AI, we would probably have to let go 90% of software engineers. But programs get restructured into these manageable pieces that AI can do. it's actually happening now. I think the entire field is going to be changed, and it will require much more creative people and people thinking at the higher level and not caring about low level. And for images, I think I told you that I think that was the most important thing. These diagrams, I think people don't even know how huge they are. So the diagrams they have, the question is, can you do like a full feature movie? I think they will probably be able to do it in 12 months. Like if you put like a scenario, and they will just create a movie for you, but the movie will be boring. So it's,
Okay, so now I'll give you guys mine. Those are both good takes. Unless Stan, are you done? I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so I think we've made a 10x improvement from last year. Okay, not 100. I think it's like easily 10 times better. But here's where I'm a little don't know what's going to happen. I would assume we're probably going to be 10 times even better, and 10 times better maybe is making like a 30-second commercial easily. But here's where I don't know, like AI is building AI now, which means that the rate of improvement, and if you haven't ever read Super Intelligence by Nick Bostrom, go read it. Phenomenal. It's old, but it is unbelievably like well thought out and talks about this whole like growth curve of AI. But if you buy into that, we're about ready to 100x because we 10x last year, we're going to 100 this year, and then it'll be 1,000. And then, so I don't know. So I think either we're going to make a 30-second video commercial, or like to Stan's point, all three of us here could make our own 2-hour feature length movie. And if we do that, we're going to need actors providing power to power AI. We're going to need a shitload more data centers. Like the AI bubble is, to the point earlier, is frankly not really going to be a bubble. The bubble's maybe not going to happen if we get that type of growth.
I think a lot of people, when they're talking about the bubble, is more on the revenue aspect, right? They've burnt through so much money from an infrastructure point of view, and alongside that, AI is so GPU intensive, and these GPUs only have 4-year shelf lives. They've spent billions upon billions of dollars on GPUs that they're gonna have to replace. NVIDIA came out the other day and said, hey, we have to cut our gaming graphics card production by 60% because of AI. They're taking 60% of their manpower and resources that made the company realistically what it is, and focus on these AI GPUs. And they're gonna have to go spend another 50, 100, 200 billion dollars, but the revenue doesn't add up. I saw, what was it? Google gave OpenAI like an astronomical amount of money that they're just never going to see back. And, that is a concern, that we don't actually have the infrastructure to support mass AI.
Yeah, that's actually very typical. It basically is a great technology, but people overinvest. And so bubble for many people just means that they'll lose money, and now it's almost for sure they will lose money because just so many. It's not like
technology is a short period of time. They're gonna there's this, we're a little over our skis. Like it's like a 4-year cycle is gonna be 3-month cycles. They're like, oh, it crashes, and then people are like, oh wow, this thing's 100 times better. Because the whole point is like, if you could make a whole movie, think of all the new commerce that can happen. And guess what? People are going to have to start paying for that. That's the piece that worries me, is like, they're like crypto in the last couple of years. It's just an incentives game. No one's wanting to pay for anything. People are like, look at all the fees this L2 created. Oh, guess what? That L2 is giving grants to all the developers to pay for everything. They're not actually paying for anything. It's fake revenue. So AI could have the same thing, because if you make people start paying, and Google's giving you all these free credits, like you're going to just keep going with Google. And so it's going to be like a free credit game also. And that's the piece that I think, but in general, I'm bullish. Next, couple, there's probably going to be some like mini pop, I think, but we're just getting started.
Yeah, I think like to what you said, to your point, I think like if you look, because I've been through this, take a look at Nasdaq like stock market index, and like it crashed in 2000, and then basically if you look at the curve, it crashed, it went down a lot, but then now it hugely shut up. And so basically, if you just took hold, even if you bought like in 2000, you would actually make lots of money now, but you would have to wait so like basically like 7 years of losing money. So my feeling is that definitely it's just a bubble in the valuations. Probably makes sense if someone is invested now in Google, or basically like sell now and wait until it drops and buy, or like as I mentioned, do like pair trading, at least like like short, like the losers, the bad guys, like short them. I think so. I'm totally for it that long term it will be, but there may be, just because of overinvestment, they may be like it may drop, and then you'll have to wait like 3 or 4 years or 5 years until it to go back. And also some of them may just die because they are not good enough. So that's the problem. If you have like, if you buy stock of like, you have 5 competitors and like there's too many of them, and then the entire industry goes up, but you bought just the loser, and the loser goes to zero. Yep. So,
yeah, it's going to be interesting. All I got to say is, what a time to be alive. Okay.
Yeah, that's the last time. That's probably the last time, because robots will take over, right? That's the last time to be alive.
You know what's interesting? Interesting stat: 10% of all humans that have ever lived know what a self-driving car is. Because 10% of the humans alive are alive today, in history, since the humans have been, the population has just grown so much. So it's kind of interesting. 10%, 1 out of every 10 humans is getting a front row seat to this like insane curve, where I think we're going to be like everyone, my wife's Tesla, hopefully she doesn't drive it and it just goes, and a year from now it becomes a taxi for us and it brings in revenue. And hopefully we have a robot in our house that's making peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Like, I don't know, man. We're living in a there's nothing to watch on TV. I'll just go make my own.
I totally agree. I think there's so much good. I mean, I'm waiting for it too. It's a little bit sad for me that like the applications are like like too much of. We have too much of ChatGPT. We want to have more real life applications, because like someone like self-driving cars, or like someone is old, or like there's a person who is like disabled, and the person has maybe not even a robot, but some kind of AI device that helps this person. I'm actually looking forward for this thing more to like enter the physical world more, maybe even like very simple robots, because I think like, it's great, but like you can only do so much of like images and movies and like ChatGPT. At some point this thing need to enter the real world. Also drugs, medicine and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get ready for that. We're not even talking about healthcare yet, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to talk about the Bitcoin piece because we're running out of time.
Yeah. Jump.
Yeah. So go ahead. Take the lead.
It's rough. If you're looking at the hourly chart, I think honestly, if you zoom out, it's a little bit better. But I think we spoke about this, Jack, a couple of weeks ago, that I think the age of the 4-year cycle is gone. I think that specifically with institutions coming into the fray, we're seeing an astronomical amount of buying and selling from these trillion-billion-dollar institutions. We saw it the other day. This list where they, the top 7 holders of Bitcoin pretty much all dumped $50 billion worth of Bitcoin in the space of 10 minutes. And we didn't have that. We didn't have that a couple years ago. It was you and me and Billy and John and everyone that just was interested in cryptocurrency. And unfortunately nowadays, we're playing against the big boys. And it's going to be, from my point of view, it's impossible to read charts. Don't even try to read a chart, because they're going to outsmart you. They're going to look at it and go, oh, you're thinking that? Well, we're going to do this. And The other thing as well is it's Christmas. It's winter. It's winter holidays. People are de-investing, and it's going to be a bit shaky for the next couple of weeks.
Stan, what do you think?
I think what we are actually, we're at the moment where meme coins are basically dying. Very much like NFTs, there will be still meme coins. Like remember, guys, there was this NFT craze, and then NFTs still exist, but the market is like 100 times less. I think that's pretty much the same as gonna go. It's happened now with the meme coins because they're fun things, and so I think we will all have to live through this meme coin extinction, which is probably gonna repeat the NFT story. There will be still some remaining, and until all of this meme coin things are cleared, and meme coin, you coming together with meme coins, all of the like perpetuals, whatever, like 20x trading, leverage trading, all of these things are crashing. And I can tell you guys the funny story. From Warren Buffett. I watched this Warren Buffett's video, and he's told this story. So Warren Buffett, so there was in 1901, and there was a company somewhere in the States, like a railroad company, and people were like basically like shorting this company, like very much like they do shorting now, like 20x leverage, all of these things. And then at some point, what happened is that some people were also like slowly like buying up the longs, not shorts, but they are playing like betting on longing. And at some point, there was a situation where mathematically more long positions appeared than the actual number of actual equity of this company. This actually can happen. People can own like kind of more bets on the company, more long bets than the actual number of shares in the company. And if this happens, then if there's like a short squeeze, the short squeeze can go to infinity potentially, because that's not enough stock for everyone, for every long position. So this happened, the short squeeze happened, and then the one day in like 1901, the stock price went up like 100 times in one day, and basically all of the shorts lost money. And there was a guy in Nebraska, that owned like a beer brewery, but he was also playing stock market. And the day this happened, he lost all of his money, so he drowned in beer. He decided to commit a suicide.
Oh my God.
And he committed suicide in Nebraska, basically like in his brewery, he drowned in beer. That's actually a good way to die. But
there's worse ways to go.
so my point is that, this is the nature of humans, that there's really very little change. Like, the meme coins of today or whatever, the speculative like stock trading of 1901, human psychology doesn't change. So I think we will have to go through this, and until all the meme coins, they will still remain, but they won't be so prominent, I think. Then the industry will start like reassembling, and actually then people start thinking about AI and payments and some things more useful. So it's actually a healthy thing, but it's painful.
Yeah, I agree with those takes, and here's like, I'm going to step back a little bit too and talk about and I've like clearly been thinking about this a lot. I think everyone is in the space. I think there's a couple big things. We're at this point of like global macro fragility. Never before does a news article shake the market so much, right? Just one article, Trump saying one thing, China's doing one thing, Japan changing their interest rates. One little thing will absolutely rock markets. And the other way, like one positive thing makes the market lift. And so we have this really high degree of volatility because of macro fragility. And in the US, let's be honest, the US is driving a lot of, everyone's seeing what's going to happen. And never had more change happen in a year of like, we're going to change this, we're going to do this, and we have these tariffs, and maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not, but markets don't like uncertainty. So I think as we go into this next year, it'll be the first year will be over in this new presidency, and we're going to have this point of like, hopefully stability start to happen, and markets will be less volatile because they're going to be looking for fundamentals, not news. Okay. That's one. Number two, AI is a huge, it's the massive elephant in the room. You can't talk about markets and not realize how much, like, NVIDIA is where Bitcoin is only 43% of the market cap of NVIDIA. And look how much people talk about Bitcoin. NVIDIA is, more than double its market cap, the market cap of Bitcoin. So when NVIDIA drops and it, again, that's the dog and everything else is the tail getting wagged around. But throw in NVIDIA and Google and, X and Apple, Facebook, all these big entities in the AI game, that's playing a big role. People don't know what impact it's going to have. And then I also agree to like Stan's point. We're in the show me state for crypto. People want to actually see stuff happen, not just speculate and not just, get in hype. People are ready for action. And so there's going to be some pain, which is going to be good for builders because that means it's an opportunity to grow and, but there's going to be short-term pain. And so the last thing is there's going to be a new Fed chair. And I think it's going to be somebody who's going to, and I also just saw this, hey, inflation's down, the labor market's hurting. You know what that means for the Fed? It means, hey, drop interest rates. I think interest rates are going to drop. And if Powell doesn't want to drop them, and I think no matter what, he's not going to be.
He's gone. They announced it yesterday, didn't they?
I think, or someone else. Yeah. So we're going to have a new Fed chair. So I think, get ready, strap in. The next, not financial advice, by the way, none of this is financial advice. We should say that at the beginning of every show. I think there's just going to be some really weird volatility, but hopefully we're going to get to a point of more stability and more fundamental growth and, outlook that's logical, not emotional. That's my 2 cents. So
I love it. We're in for a wild ride. It's going to be a great, great end to the year. 2026, insane to say. Is going to be, the year of showing instead of the year of talking. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Stan, Jack, another great episode in the books. We won't be back next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're taking the week off.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
We'll be working, but we're not going to live stream. Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna be partying on the Christmas day. You're gonna party, but only at the evening. In the morning, we're gonna do.
New Year's Eve too. We gotta.
Yeah. But guys, here is to 2026. Been a pleasure. Been a hell of a year.
Okay. Bye, Skillians. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.